Hi to the US Council and any staff members watching. This is my end of internship presentation. So first things first, my name is Alexia Yao, and I was the fall 2021 Operations and Outreach Intern, and my pronouns are she, her. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Hampton, Virginia, and that's where I currently reside. I am first generation Panamanian American. And I graduated from the University of Florida with a bachelor majoring in natural resource conservation with a minor in wildlife ecology and conservation. I've always had a passion for animals and the environment, which led me to a career in wildlife conservation. So to touch on some of my duties throughout the internship, I primarily worked under our unit services manager, Mariah Byers, and our professional development manager, Jamila Blake. And so first I want to go over what I did with Mariah. So focusing on membership services, I updated TWS unit officer information as different organization units have elections throughout the year, or if for any reason officer information needs to change, I would receive the officer report forms and update it in all of our databases, as well as our contact information for them, any terms of office changes, as well as keeping track of election dates, just so we're in accordance with the bylaws each one has set. I also did monthly membership reminders. Per the bylaws, every TWS officer has to have an active membership with the whole organization. And so every month, anyone that had expired and hadn't renewed, I was the one that would reach out to them and remind them by a certain deadline to please activate their membership. I also did web page updates for organization units. Different units such as chapters or even sections would reach out to Mariah or myself requesting website updates, whether it be adding newsletters or adding photos or changing information. I was the one who would go in and make those edits. We also kept organized communication between TWS headquarters and organization units. So should there be any change in policy, any new information, anything that needed to be shared or unit-wide, I would be the one working with Mariah to get everything organized and distributed to the necessary officers. I also worked with Jamila on diversity, equity, inclusion. It is something I'm very passionate about, being a Latina woman, first generation, especially in a career where the majority tends to be white males. So being able to work in something that promotes something really important to me was a very valuable experience. I came into this internship not even knowing that there were organizations working towards this. I was always under the impression that, you know, that's just the way the world works. That's just part of the job. You just have to suck it up. And so being able to learn so much about how to implement and promote diversity, equity, inclusion has really meant a lot to me throughout this internship. So what that looked like was with TWS staff, headquarters, as well as organization units. So again, that's student chapters, state chapters, and sections. With that, Jamila also established a DEI network. So that includes now monthly newsletters and monthly calls. We worked with different organizations, both in and out of TWS, to implement a system that would facilitate communication of DEI initiatives. Under DEI, we also have the Wildlife Vocalizations Initiative. It's a collection of stories and perspectives from wildlife professionals from underrepresented communities, and we promote it on our website, as well as give everyone the opportunity to share what their take is on the wildlife profession. So from that, we've also stepped into local wildlife vocalization. So that's a little more centralized on chapters or sections. It started with the Wisconsin chapter, and now the opportunity is out there for other chapters to follow suit should they want to promote wildlife vocalizations from their own state. In DEI, I also participated in a diversity joint venture networking event under Jamila, who is now a board member. It was very interesting to see so many different organizations like the Forest Service, the Fish and Wildlife Service, and I learned a lot about what people are trying to do nationwide DEI efforts. Under DEI, I also audited NARA program meetings with TWS, and it was really interesting to learn about how we sponsor such a program. I think it's an amazing program, and I love to see what the future holds for it. And professional development, again, also under Jamila, I worked to process professional development applications. So that's the associate wildlife biologist, certified wildlife biologist, upgrade applications, as well as renewal applications. I would receive them in our professional development inbox and reach out with any payment information, any edits, any changes or inquiries that were needed to fully process this application. With that, I also worked with Jamila with the certification review board. So I took meeting minutes at all the monthly meetings for both committees. And with that, I would draft pending and denial letters for any applicants that were not approved. And I also audited Leadership Institute meetings. Some highlights from my internship. I did serve as the interim student development working group chair. It was a super exciting experience. Unfortunately, both the chair and chair-elect prior to me becoming the interim chair had to step down, and it just so happened that I was a student and I was an intern, so it just was a perfect mesh. I was super excited to learn more about the working group and the other officers, as well as having the opportunity to serve as the student liaison to council. So I was able to sit in both the two-day fall meetings with council and also just kind of help transition the new student liaison. It's a unique opportunity, and I think it's what really allowed me to get to know a lot of the council members that I probably would not have been able to fully meet and interact with without being the interim chair. Another great part of my internship was being able to participate in conference. There were so many different things to do. It was my first professional conference ever, and it was virtual, so that was super interesting and exciting. I worked with Jamila on the Moving Forward panel that focused on allyship in DEI initiatives. I also was a panelist on the wildlife vocalizations panel. There are recordings for both of those panels, but being a part of both panels and hearing from so many professionals and amazing experiences and opinions and just learning from them was an amazing experience, as well as in wildlife vocalizations, being able to share my story and be so supported by different TWS staff and members really meant a lot to me. And I'm super excited that that'll always be a memory for my first professional conference. I also did CRB, so Certification Review Board assistance sessions. So people were able to drop in and talk to the Certification Review Board and ask general questions about application, processing, things like that. I also worked with Mariah at the working group and student chapter meetings. I took meeting minutes and I was able to follow along with Mariah and see what the status of, a lot of these org units are looking for and how we can better support them as staff and at headquarters. I also worked with Mariah and Nick on the annual photo contest that was also virtual for the first time this year. And it was super exciting to be able to see how many submissions we got. Unfortunately, we didn't anticipate how many submissions we were going to get, so we did have to close the contest early, but being able to be on behind the scenes of that was super exciting, and we got a lot of amazing entries, and it was super fun to be able to sit down and go through every single one of them. The progress in my personal goals. These are just my top 3. I wanted to focus on networking skills, which I believe I fully accomplished and more. I met so many amazing people in TWS and outside of TWS from different organizations. I feel like I know now better, if I need to reach out to someone, if I have a question about a particular organization or profession, I just have an abundance of people who have made themselves available to me. And I don't think I would have found that without this internship. My communication skills have also improved. Before the internship, it was very generic. I worked customer service before this internship, so my communication skills were very cut and dry, but I feel like now after the internship, I'm able to communicate professionally. And I did that through both working under Jamila and Mariah in professional development, in DEI, and in the membership services. I'm able to effectively and efficiently communicate with people, and I feel more confident in being able to communicate with anyone about anything, and not just be cut and dry, that also led to career confidence. And that's something that I think Mariah, Jamila, and even Cameron could really speak to on my experience. When I first came into this internship, I could say was insecure about where I stood as a wildlife professional. I didn't even recognize myself as a wildlife professional. I never really was confident in the way I spoke about my career. I, had my degree, but I hadn't done anything with it yet. And I was in peak pandemic. So I was really in a hard place to be as a, recent graduate and early professional. And so being able to have the TWS internship as my first real job and being able to learn and grow and being in an environment that really wants to help people learn and, develop professionally, I feel like I'm able to confidently say that I have a career in wildlife and that I'm super excited to see where this goes and how my relationship with TWS is going to continue even after my internship is over. So career goals and next steps. I currently am in graduate school at George Mason University. I'm getting a master's in environmental science and policy with the concentration in conservation science and policy. And with that, I would like to one day work as a wildlife biologist focused on conservation research. Right now, my graduate thesis project will be looking at urban meadows in the metropolitan DC area. I'll be working with wildlife biologists in DC to look at small mammal communities that have not been examined yet in urban meadows. So I'm more than happy to keep everyone updated and let everyone know. My contact information will be available with Mariah and Jamila, as well as it'll bounce you back from my intern email. But it's been a super, super, super big pleasure to be an intern for TWS. I'm super blessed and just beyond grateful for the opportunity. I can only imagine what's going to happen with the next intern and the next one and the next one. And I'm super, super happy again to have been able to have you all share with me and being able to share with you all. So it's been amazing and thank you.